'cause at the end of the day, you should be questionable about everything. And even in the Quran, they say you should ask questions. You should never just blindly believe anything. For me, there's no such thing as like a blind faith. Like, you need to be skeptical and ask all the questions. And because at the end of the day, you want the truth, not what makes you feel good and what makes sense. Like, you need to be able to ask questions and get the answers, and then make your best judgment and fall on your sword if you're wrong, admit it, and be able to, live the life with your control. Because a lot of people are not in control. And I used to be one of those people that used to blame everybody, or not know how to help themselves or other people. And, I look at myself as somebody who has, the knowledge that I know now. And then I also have the responsibility to, like, let people know, and then they make their best judgment.
Welcome back to Self Revelations. It's your boy B-Dev.
And I am Juan Moreno.
Welcome back to the most organic podcast in the world. Juanavelli, how you been doing? How's everything been going?
No, man, I've been doing good. I know it's been a while since we've talked. We barely got together right now, and here we're gonna start recording. And lately, I've just been I've been telling you, I've been watching that documentary called The Truth About Cancer. And that's really been my journey right now for the last few weeks, the month. Is just really, self-empowering myself with the knowledge that you need to take care of yourself, because I feel that, a lot of things are a business, and, capitalism is a beautiful thing, but, it has its pros and its cons. And sadly, some people don't want you healthy. Some people don't want you to become a thinker. Some people don't want you to be the best version of yourself. Some people don't even want you to talk about certain things that's going to uplift others to then, become awake from their sleep of just, going to work, going home, eating food, taking a shower, go to sleep, wake up again tomorrow. A lot of us have been programmed, and I believe that, there's two types of people. There's the people who seek for the truth, and then those who seek what they're told. And so for me, one thing that has helped me elevate it in life was to not live the life that I've been told to live that wasn't working. I was sick all the time before, tired. I used to be depressed, sad. And then up until I just got tired of it, I started opening my eyes okay, well, how do I get out of depression? How do I get out from being sick all the time? Why am I always tired? And then I started studying nutrition, and I started studying, physical exercise, even self-belief, psychologically, what you can think your way out of. And then, the latest one is, God. That one really opened up everything and put everything into perspective now, spirituality, your health, physical and mental, and then your purpose of doing stuff for your family. So with educating myself with all that I have, these last, my whole life up to this point, I've learned how important it is to really take care of yourself. Nobody's going to take care of you, certain doctors might be misinformed, or they're taught a certain way, and they don't really have the best interest for you at heart. They're there to do a job. At the same time, they're going to give you what they know, and sometimes it might not be what's best for you. And there's proven ways to take care of yourself that people call it cuckoo stuff, natural remedies and stuff. I'm Mexican, so I've seen wonders with natural remedies that an ibuprofen or a Tylenol couldn't fix. Fever within minutes. I remember my grandma would put at the bottom of my feet and my hands and my head and the back of my neck, she'll put salt, lemon, and vapor rub, which is Vaporub, they say in Spanish. And I remember being sick for a whole week. And then one day she came, she seen me sick there for already a week, and then she applied that stuff. Next day I felt better, and I didn't even have a fever no more. So I kind of opened my eyes. I'm I don't know if it was a mind thing, if it was a placebo effect, or was I coming down from the fever already and she just helped me or whatever? Or is there something that I don't know that we get taught that, in order for you to treat yourself, you need to take a pill or, chemo or surgery? And I started wanting to learn the truth. And now I've got to the point where I watched this documentary, did my research, look at transcripts, 'cause at the end of the day, you should be questionable about everything. And even in the Quran, they say you should ask questions. You should never just blindly believe anything. For me, there's no such thing as like a blind faith. Like, you need to be skeptical and ask all the questions, and because at the end of the day, you want the truth, not what makes you feel good and what makes sense. Like, you need to be able to ask questions and get the answers, and then make your best judgment and fall on your sword if you're wrong, admit it, and be able to, live the life with your control. Because a lot of people are not in control, and I used to be one of those people that used to blame everybody or not know how to help themselves or other people. And, I look at myself as somebody who has, the knowledge that I know now. And then I also have the responsibility to, like, let people know, and then they make their best judgment. I can't tell nobody what to do. So, yeah, with all that being said, I just been, like, on this kind of educational journey about, like, physical and mental health, and then, like, what you eat, what you apply on your skin, the water that you drink, and just, I don't have all the money in the world to be able to, like, maybe make everything I want become a reality, like, getting certain fruits and food and water and maybe supplements because of lack of knowledge. But at least I could start now, like, little by little. It's kind of like when you start learning God in your religion, like, you're not gonna just be the best example of your religion or the best example of what you want, that you believe God would want you to be. Like, it's like trial and error. So yeah, so I'm like right back to this common journey that I'm in, which is like just seeking the truth.
Yeah, facts. And can you go in a little detail, and what's the title, and go in a little more detail of like the documentary that you were watching too, because you had put me onto it too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to watch that first episode, but can you talk a little bit more about that, and like how the things that we're eating is directly correlated to like cancers and stuff like that, kind of how we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I sent it to you. I sent it to like everybody who I really care about. That I know people are not really gonna watch it, but at least I could send it to them, and then maybe when the time comes, or they get sick, or they find somebody else who's sick, they can maybe look back like, oh, I remember Juan sent me that documentary about something about the truth about cancer, and in that documentary, it's like a series, so it's like episodes 1 through 9. I found it on Rumble because Rumble has a lot of like freedom of speech, and they don't have nobody's controlling what you put on there and what you say. So it's best to go on Rumble and then search the truth about cancer. And you could then find that series where it's created by Ty Bollinger. Him and his wife created this documentary. They went all around the world, literally different continents, different countries, different islands. And all throughout that documentary, they go through all the different types of cancers, all different type of alternative treatments. They go into like, vaccines, and then the reality of the treatments that's been going on, that's been passed down, the history of these like pharmaceutical companies. And there's a reason why you learn history, because it teaches you what not to repeat again. And so that's why it's important for us that we don't just blindly just do things or just listen to advice of people that are telling you to do this and you need this treatment for you to be healthy, but yet they're obese and they just have a lab coat, and people say like trust the experts. You can't trust nobody at all when it comes to any profession. You really have to be skeptical and like do your research. Everything these doctors learn, everything that experts learn, you can find online now, or even ChatGPT now, which is crazy. Like, you can literally search and ask questions that a doctor would have advised you the same. So you should always, still see a doctor and stuff like that to get like diagnosed and stuff like that. But when it comes to treatment, before you just accept anything or any pill, if I'm having a hard time I have a hard time sleeping. So I know if I go to a doctor, they'll prescribe me Xanax or other sleeping things, other sleeping medications for me to fall asleep. But I've been, I smoke marijuana, and that's helped me go to sleep, and I feel re-energized than a Xanax pill that I can get addicted to, and it has side effects that can harm me. And so like just stuff like that, you always need to be skeptical of. Like, you gotta remember, these doctors make money off of like what they prescribe you. There's like a commission, and like when you go through chemo or radiation, like those are like $100,000 or $1,000 a month weekly treatment that they're giving you that they make commission on. So just being aware of that type of stuff and you making your best judgment, I encourage everybody to like watch that documentary because it goes through all the different types of cancers, all the different types of treatments, places you can go, doctors that are reputable, doctors that have proof, cancer survivors on there that are explaining that their cancer got cured, and they explain how the pharmaceutical companies are not there to cure your cancer. They're really there to treat it and keep you coming like a drive-through restaurant. And then you learn like the foods, like all the herbicide sprays and how the soil is dying, and like an apple in the 1940s between an apple now doesn't have all the nutrients that it used to have. Like all that educational stuff is just important to know and then do your best, And so with that documentary, I encourage everybody to watch. So like, yeah, The Truth About Cancer, that's on Rumble.
Okay, and what's the name of the guy again?
Ty Bollinger.
Okay.
So it's Bollinger.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely something that needs to be watched. And how important do you think physical fitness is, as well as the things that we're obviously are nutritional wise? Do you think it's just as important to actually be fit too, or is the nutritional side like the majority of it?
I think it's like a yin and yang. Mm-hmm. Like you need to focus on. For me, I'm more focused. Before I used to like want to be like bodylifting and like have this physique, but then I realized like I really want to look more towards like longevity. Like I just want to live long enough. I don't want to put too much strain into my heart. And there's like studies that have shown, and you see all the time. You see a lot of incredibly physiqued men and women that die early because of the stress that they put on their joints and their heart. It's really the heart, the main part, because you're already stressing mentally, depending on where you're at in life and your career, and then you're also stressing by working it out, your heart. So your heart's doing double the work, and if you don't give yourself, that's why it's so important, right? Sleep, and that's why it's so important to recover and how you recover. And steroids can make you recover faster, but then there's like a pro and con of doing that. And then when it comes to sleep, a lot of people don't really prioritize sleep, and because they make things like sleep is for the broke, or stuff like that. And I kind of subscribe to that mindset too. But then I remember how unhealthy that mindset was having me. Like my joints, I get tired, and then like I wouldn't sleep well, so I wouldn't recover. I'm still super sore, and then I didn't have a routine. I should have had a physical trainer. I should have talked to maybe experts that can give me a balance. And so I learned that, for the physical, I realized like you should be doing like calisthenics is best, I believe, and then doing some type of weights too as well. But really, you just want to master yourself. It's really mastering like how your body works. Like you want to, for me, it's hard for me to trust a man who can't do one push-up or one pull-up. Like, how am I going to trust you to go to battle? Or if guys come jump us, and this is my friend can't even do a push-up. Like, I bet he can't throw a punch either. So it's kind of like, you need to be able to like move around with your body. Either when you have kids or you don't have kids, you want to be physically like able. And then when you talk about like food and nutrition, a lot of us are just malnourished, and like a lot of us, we get sick off of the simplest viruses or even fevers. Ever since I started taking care of myself back in 2015, when I really started like fasting, nutrients every day or every other month, I'll try something new. I always switch it up, the foods that I eat and to the nutrients that I intake, the water that I drink, fasting. I have yet to ever get sick from there. I've had, I think, like allergies twice out of the last 8 years. So like, and the times I got allergies, the times that I did have allergies is the times that I was drinking too much alcohol. But ever since I switched up my food, and I'm never consistent on eating like a certain meal or a certain food, or eating 3 times a day is like the worst thing you can do. Like you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, and you eat dinner. Or if you eat dinner a little bit too close, like 3 hours before you fall asleep within that window, like you're making your body, that's why you wake up in the middle of the night, because your glucose levels are finally going down, but then your glucose levels spike up if you eat a little bit too early before you go to sleep. So like all this knowledge, like everybody's able to thankfully find it, because you can find it in the podcast from doctors, experts. And sometimes I know people always give it a thing, right? It's like, oh, well, if it's not a doctor saying it, I'm not going to trust it. It's like, you got to remember, this doctor is a human too. Like, they just got a degree. They got some knowledge that you can also learn and find too. It doesn't take much to believe common sense and logic and knowing how the body works. Yeah, there's scientific terms, but when you're really knowledgeable or you really want to learn, you could put things in perspective and understand what the doctors are saying. And so that's what's so important. I think like your physical exercise is so important, longevity wise, for your physical and mental health. And then obviously like nutrition, like what you eat, how you eat, and trying to get the best form of your food, because sadly a lot of foods have a lot of like preservatives, additives, herbicides on them, to keep insects and insects away. And there a lot of food industries are in it to make money. They're not really there to create the healthiest food for you. Like it's really about getting product out. You got to think about like the FDA's, food, drugs. Like it's a combination of a company that basically watches over and lets, like right now they just passed lab grown chicken. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I seen it. The same day that they had what did they have going on? It was like the same day something big had happened, and they had just passed it. But it was like a big distraction on the news. If something had happened.
The submarine.
It was the submarine thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they was all on all the news. They knew that they were dead that Sunday, but they still ran it on the news on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like they were looking for them, but they knew they were dead on Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people know that. That's a real tactic that they do.
That's crazy. Like, what's to gain from that? But obviously, it was a distraction because, that got passed, and nobody even knew until, I think I seen it on Twitter or something. Somebody had posted on Twitter, and it was like a chicken with two heads. No, and I was like, what?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you really gotta watch out. Like, this is a money thing. You think the lab grown meat is for health purposes? No, it's just another way to make money, another way to create business and opportunity. It's capitalism, which is, by the way, I love capitalism though. I'm all about that, because I mean that's why people go out. People die on their way to come to the U.S. Like crossing the border, going overseas, just for the American dream to be all that you want to be. But you gotta remember, it's a business. Like everything's a business here in the U.S. Even your own health is a business. Like you think they want you sick? Like a patient cured is a patient lost. Like that's a real thing. There's a reason why they always want you coming back. There's a reason why the foods that you eat are super salty and high in sodium, to the point that you want to grab another beer, another fountain drink when you're at a restaurant. Like you have to be aware of these things, and you have to understand like the only person gonna take care of you is you. So like with all that being said, like yeah, your nutrition and your physical health is super key, but always question everything.
Yeah, for sure. Because I know for me personally, like a lot of the things that I do physically, like the lifting weights, the running, especially how I eat, bro. I eat terrible, bro. I eat terrible, but I make it up with all the physical activity. Like I lift heavy, like I'll go run. I'm always active. I'm always doing stuff. Like, and the way my body isn't gonna be same as someone who, didn't play sports, or someone who did play sports that played a different position, or like everyone's body is different. So you got to find your groove. And for me, I found that yes, calisthenics is a good benefit for longevity, but I also believe that lifting weights, lifting weights and having a high rep set in your workouts is more beneficial as well, because pride lifting only takes you so far. Like, yeah, if you're testing to get to a certain point, yes, it's beneficial. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh yeah, like you should just stay at the same weight and just play it safe, and you know what I mean. But like if you're want to increase your strength, obviously you have to lift heavier weight. But if you're going for longevity, to get shredded up, go high reps and see how many go until failure with some things. Like today, like I did, a little bit of calisthenics, and I did some pull-ups, push-ups, dips or whatever, and, go until failure. Okay, how many can I do on this set? Okay, I'm going to do 5 sets. See how much I can do it. That hurts more than getting the weight and doing a certain set, or like, okay, I got 10 reps on this, and like I feel like when I do calisthenics and all that stuff, like I feel cut up, and especially when I run, bro. Running kills me, like every time. But I think, for longevity, just finding your groove and finding what's beneficial and healthy for you. Because I know you bro, it was one time you told me, yeah, man, I just ran 5.6 miles, or I ran 6 miles. I'm like, yeah, that's not me. I got 3 at best, 2.5 or 3 at best. But I'm like, yeah, you got it. But I like lifting weights and, you know, jogging a little bit after, you know, get a little bit of lactic acid out of my body. But, you know, it's about finding your groove.
Yeah, and that's super important too. It's like you have to make it fun too. Like you can't just do like a certain workout regime and it's like boring because like it's not gonna last. And one thing I learned too is like there's always a way to do something or get to like a goal. Like you want to do it the most like organic way, like the healthiest, even if it takes a little bit longer, because you don't want to put your body to like too much stress to the point where like now it's like deficient. Like you're not really getting the full experience and the fullest like potential of like your muscle growth, endurance, and like cardio is one thing that people lack. You know, like people don't know how many people die actually in the gyms from like a cardiovascular like heart attack or disease, or like, you know, people just drop dead, and a lot of people don't work on their cardio. I think cardio to me is way more important than lifting weights, because lifting weights is more like you should be strong and, you know, it's an aesthetic look. But cardio is literally your livelihood, like your heart rate, your breathing. Like, you know, you can't go to the gym if your heart ain't working. So it's kind of like you need to incorporate ways to like do some cardiovascular workouts to the point where then that also strengthens not only your blood flow to your muscles too, but it gives the most optimal feeling and the most optimal results. And like that's the one thing this couple of like interviews I listened to a couple of days ago where, you know, people would like not want to work on cardio because they would think that it's gonna like lean them out, like it'll take away their muscles or whatever. People don't want to fast because they think that their muscles are gonna shrink, and that is true, because but in a good way. Like it doesn't like remove your lean mass, but it actually removes the glucose or the sugars that are inside your muscles. So that's why people think like, oh, I'm losing muscle, but not really. You're kind of losing just like the unwanted you know, glucose or sugars or like kind of spots that are in your muscles to then become fully lean. Because I don't know if you ever heard that, like I don't know if you like listen to like certain bodybuilders and stuff like that. There's some that do fast and they get even like greater results. And obviously like you have to pair it with like sleep too, and then like you make sure you're like you know, eating the right stuff, and you're also taking the right nutrients. Like there's always like the best way to do something. Like you should never do a dirty bulk. Like you should try to do the most cleanest bulk that you can do. And sometimes like you don't know shit. Sometimes you're like, if I just eat Panda Express every day, you know, if I just eat like what I used to do, like I used to eat like In-N-Out almost every day when I was like bulking like a couple years back. I mean, yeah, it definitely bulked me up, but I felt like shit. So, and like, yeah, I was getting like more like bigger, but at the same time, it was a different type of like bigger. Like you want to do it like the best way you can, and you might not have the knowledge. Like that's why it's good to like educate yourself, read some books, or listen to an audio book, listen to somebody who has the body that you want, but then also understand like, yeah, genetics is part of it, but I think like genetics is like 1%. Like really, like it's a lot of hard work, consistency, what you eat, how you sleep, what you intake, how you work out, how your workouts are, like how do you do it in the day? Because at the end of the day, like, I mean, you should be, you know, working out to live, not just, you know, living to work out. Like it's kind of like food too. You should be, you know, eating food to live, not living to eat food.
Yeah, facts. And going back to what you said about the weightlifting. So if you're lifting weights like a bodybuilder, that's where, like how you were saying, like that's where it's kind of like, you know, like not ego lifting, but it's kind of like it's there's no cardio in their work. You know what I'm saying? It's not like CrossFit or anything. They're like lifting for strength, right? And that's why like athletically lifting is different. That is cardio based. So like everything is under a timer. When you're lifting like in a setting of like a football team or a basketball team, or you're doing something like that, now you're doing those weights, but now, hey, every 10 seconds you're doing a set, or every 20 seconds you're doing a set. That's where the cardiovascular thing comes in. And that's why it's so important for people to train like athletes. Even sometimes like bodybuilders will try that and be like, oh shit, like this is different than what they're used to. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit on the bench for an hour working up to my max set. You know what I'm saying? No, you're getting your shit in and getting out. Like, and like how athletes train, it's different, bro. It's like a different beast, and it's like that's why you be like, damn, this dude has cardio, and he's big and strong. But it's how they lift, like the power cleans, boom, getting it in. You have your partner. It's like when your partner's done with his set, that's when you go and you have a good 15 to 20 seconds before you have to go next. And now you're getting that, you have that stress, but it's good because you're working both at the same time, you know, and even sometimes doing like a lift, but having to engage your core. You know what I mean? And that's very beneficial as well. And now it's like not only you working when you're tired, but now you still have to engage your core. You still have to hold that weight. You still have to get these reps in. And I don't have any time to rest. You know, you're trying to catch your breath. So it's how you lift is what determines, you know, how your body is going to react. If you're lifting like a bodybuilder, you're not going to get those same results as someone who's doing calisthenics, that's doing as many reps as they can possibly do every set. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or an athlete who is, you know, has a short amount of time between anything, instead of like someone going to a rack and be like, okay, this is leg day. I'm going to knock out my 10 sets of squats. I know I'm going to be here for the next hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different type of vibe.
Right. Too. You ever heard that guy, Athlean X?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like his philosophy. Like it's like I think his philosophy is like train like an athlete, and I feel like that's the best way because you get like the best of everything. Like, you know, your cardio, muscular, and then also the understanding of like what you're doing. Like, cause you shouldn't just be like, you know, a lot of people go train something as simple as like biceps, but they'll just do bicep curls. But there's so many different variations that you can use cables. You could do certain like, you know, like what's called like those bicep hangs, like you're just hanging like yourself with your bicep.
Oh, the what's it called? The ISO hold, the holds when they pull themselves up and they hold themselves at the top of the pull-up bar. I forgot what it's called.
But there's like so many variations of like things that you can do, and sometimes like we're so caught up in like what you learn in PE class or something like that. Like you need to like educate yourself, and that applies to everything. Like the foods that you eat, to the way that you even breathe, to the way you even think, to the ways that you work out, to the time that you sleep. Like every day you should be looking for an opportunity to tweak it just a little bit better. Like, you know, recently, like this is kind of like off topic, but kind of still in it. Like there's a lot of people that come up to me at work, they'll talk to me and they'll be telling me like, you know, hey, I'm going through a hard time. Like I keep drinking every day. You know, I've been drinking for the last 2 years every day, about like a bottle a day. And I think to myself, yeah, man, like there's a lot of people. That's the one thing that I love about my job. And it's hard for me to even think about like giving it up when I have the ability to, because it keeps me connected to people in the world. Like the real 9 to 5, these are real human beings, you know, like that pay their taxes, go to work every day, that are in this, you know, what's helping America be America and keeping it running afloat. Because I feel like a lot of people that are online, they're constantly talking in a way that's very privileged. Like, you know, they only went to college, university. They only been around like college students, and they're never able to experience what it is to actually be in the real world until they actually are in the working class. And there's a lot of people that are out there really struggling to just, you know, make, you know, their minimum wage, make their payments, make their rent. And to hear somebody that says that they're struggling with, you know, drinking alcohol every day, and this is a human being. This is a person that looks just like you. And it made me realize how important it is to always look at everybody in the way of a reflection of yourself, because you can always give advice. You might not be an expert or quote unquote credible, but the best advice you could give is kind of like self-reflection, and depending on their beliefs, you know, God's a big one, and then your health and who you do it for. You know, life is very much of a struggle, and it's hard to, you know, keep moving and moving forward. So when I hear something like, you know, every day I drink, you know, a glass of, you know, Jack Daniels to the face because of the reality of, you know, how hard life is. And this is a man, you know, talking to me about this. And this is a guy who is like, was, when I first started working, was very optimistic. But then once he started realizing like the environment, the culture of, you know, 9 to 5s, and, you know, They could love you today, hate you tomorrow. You could die today, get replaced tomorrow. New job posting of your job, right after you pass. Like, life is pretty hard for a man and even for a woman for sure. But just speaking to him, it was like, this guy that drinks every single day, and he was telling me, he was like, it's hard because I got my kids. COVID destroyed my small business. He used to be a physical trainer. He had like a business running for 25 years. And then COVID happened and it just destroyed him. And yeah, I could sit here and be like, well, he should have prepared for it. Nobody was really prepared for COVID, when it happened. And a lot of business went down under. Like there's like 3 or 5 that I can think about right now in my head that I used to go to before COVID, and then COVID happened, they shut down. And that's a sad thing. These are family businesses that went for like, running for 40 years, independently. And, COVID forced them to shut down, and, they were never able to bounce back. And like people don't realize right now we're still dealing with like the effects of COVID. And, a lot of people suffered mentally. A lot of people got on prescription pills. A lot of people, have, lost their jobs. A lot of people, but then there's a lot of great things also that happened. A lot of people, seen what was going on and was able to see bullshit. Like this is, and then to get the stuff that we're finding out now, how I have to be careful with the words on here. The vid and like the shot, like all that stuff ended up coming out like recently with like reports of people that had related injuries because of that. And even we know people in our family that kind of links to that too. And there's a recent a bodybuilder based in Germany, a influencer that ended up passing away from a neck aneurysm. And then just a week before, a couple of weeks, he was talking on a popular podcast about when he took the pokey and like his blood work before and after, and they found heavy metals. And a lot of people don't realize there's like mercury. There's a lot of stuff that's illegal and that's like literally has been proven to be unhealthy to humans that are in those pokies. And like, you have to, that's a funny word to say, but you have to really be like, man, like you don't want to be cuckoo like conspiracy theorists, but you just got to realize the game. Like you got to realize like you are in kind of like a simulation. Like there's agendas out, and like you need to, literally become wealthy to be able to take care of your family, because if you just owe it all to the government or to a president or to some person, like you gotta remember they got the best interest for their people. Like they're gonna do, like all these people in the higher ups, they're gonna take care of their family and themselves. They're gonna make it look a certain way for the perception of the world that's watching, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like you too. It's like me too, right? Like I'm gonna take care. If I have to, I'm forced to have to take care of people, I'm taking care of like my family and my friends. Everybody else who's acquaintances at work, like you are not on that list. Like you are at the very bottom, and those people are going to take it personal, but you shouldn't, because I have, my family, my friends. Really, when I say family, it's my family, my friends, really. Because if you're my friend, you're my family, or else I don't believe in acquaintances. I don't really believe in like, what's friends if you're not a best friend type thing, And so it's like my family, my friends are joining together. Like I need to take care of these people. So that's why I educate myself to then give knowledge for those who are uninformed or misinformed, and hopefully give them the information like, hey, you really got to keep your eyes open and like understand what's going on. Like a lot of things aren't for your own interest, and I'm not trying to sound like a tinfoil hat, but like, you really got to self-empower yourself with, you got to keep God with you, because look at the people who don't have God in their life and like what they're chasing. A lot of people, they watch. That's why, like, certain things are dangerous, like the foods that you eat, the things that you drink, the things that you watch. And then also like, for men or even for women too, it's like pornography, right? Like, you hear stories about this, because I'll watch like a bunch of things, and I like to have an understanding of like the pros and cons and like the the spirals of, pornography, alcoholism, worshiping your materials. And I always like educate myself with that. Like I've heard stories like where a man would, watch regular porn, right? Man on woman. And then they'll watch a woman with 3 guys. And then they start watching cartoon porn. And then and then it starts going to like then children porn. Like I'm telling you, there's no cap. Like because it's kind of like, if I'm used to just drinking 1 glass of beer, if I keep doing that every day, and I'm gonna potentially get to 2 glasses, 3 glasses. Now I'm drinking liquor. Now I'm drinking a whole bottle a day. Like, and like a lot of these people, that it's like a human habit. Like, you're always gonna want more, and like when you don't have God, you don't have structure of the reasons why certain things are sin. And like, this is a controversial take, but like, they say like, how they say like being a homosexual is a sin. And like, I have an understanding that, homosexuality is a sin because it removes the family dynamic. There's a reason why, male and females have unique body parts that are literally meant for each other to like create life. And when you go against God, you go against life. And, a man and man can't have a child together. A woman and woman can't have a child together. So that's why it's, it's a sin part of it, So it's like, and, I have, people that are part of the LGBTQ that, that I know that are my friends. And they also agree and they understand the stuff that I talk about. And, I get a lot of love from them. They heard some of the podcasts. They heard some of the stuff that I say. And they agree 100%. They don't agree that you should be forcing your sexuality on kids at schools that they're trying to do. And they completely understand, like, my stance on it. At the same time, the whole goal was to let people be themselves. And you should want people to self-empower themselves, have self-belief, be okay just to feel normal with what they like, whatever. But you also have to be conscious of, you should really be more focused on yourself and your family. You're able to now be yourself, focus on your health, focus on your relationships, focus on your purpose, on helping people, because you don't want to get caught in the act of everything's about how you feel and everything's about your own, like, selfish pleasures, like for you, like, what do you feel that you see, like, because it's, online is like a virtual thing. Online is not really real life. Like online and social media and the news make it seem like the world's on fire. But then you go outside, you go to Target, you go to a grocery shop, or you go to the mall. Everybody's minding their own business, So it's kind of like, what do you see is a disconnect online?
The wild spread of negative information. Like, if we all live in the 209, right? We all live in the valley. If someone gets into a car accident, that's going to be posted on 209 times. Everyone's going to see it and everyone's going to react to it. That's going to be the first thing that comes out of someone's mouth. In the morning, in the evening, you see someone, hey, did you hear about that accident on 99? Like, yeah. That's what everyone's going to be talking about. But they're not going to be talking about the positive things that happen. Like, oh, hey, they made a homeless shelter that, houses, 150 people, yada, yada. They're not going to talk about those positive things, or for the majority of people aren't going to talk about. They're going to talk about the negative things because that spreads faster and that sticks. So these social media accounts and these news places, they're going to talk about everything bad that's going to happen because it's more views. You get more views, you get more reaction if you talk about, race and ethnicity. You get more views if you talk about an abduction that happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that still wasn't solved. If you talk about everything negative. So I think talking about the negative, it's just, it's I think it's real toxic. Everything about it is toxic. And me, like I told you, like, bro, I unfollow. Like, if I keep seeing like certain shit on like pages, I'll just unfollow them. I don't care. Or if somebody that I know, I might know them. Hey, I might be cool with them in person. I can't follow you. Everything you're posting is like, you're posting somebody fighting each other. You feel what I'm saying? Or you're posting like, you smoking and drinking every damn day. Like, bro, it's just certain stuff. When I wake up in the morning and I'm doing my thing and I go into my IG to, I might post a haircut or be looking at stuff because my whole feed is like all haircut stuff. If I see majority of the stuff that's on my feed and it's like, oh, like this person's posting about talking shit about somebody else or posting that they're smoking and drinking and they got into a fight. Well, bro, like, why would I care? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's nothing positive, I don't even want to look at it. Yeah, like people go through stuff like, oh yeah, people deal with death in the family. Of course people are going to talk about that stuff. But I'm talking about in any way, shape, or form, you're going to find anything negative to talk about to get attention or to just have something to talk about. It's like, I don't even, want to look at it. you know.
Mm-hmm. Since you've been like starting to cut hair, like what if you were to look back? Like I know we talked about it for years. Like you'd like want to cut hair, and then to see you actually doing it and like making like good strides and stuff. Like what was the enough? What was the like? Okay, I gotta stop fucking playing. Let me actually just start cutting hair. Maybe I see something here. Like what motivated you, and what's the reason why you decided to now just that push? Like you just finally got the push. Like what made you do that?
So, you know how I was dealing with the stuff with my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing all of that, and having to quit my job and move back because I was playing ball out there and I was working. So quitting my job and coming back out to the valley, it was just kind of like, damn, like what am I gonna do now? Like, I'm taking care of my dad. I'm unemployed. I'm trying to keep everything right for him. I had just sold my car. It's like it was a lot of things that I was doing. And I'm like, man, I just got to make sure, like financially, I can help him. Like if I need to, pay his rent for a couple months or whatever, like I want to be able to help. And I'm like, man, like I can't just go and work a regular job. I have to be with him every day. Like, bro, I have to cook for him. I have to do all that stuff. So I remember I was literally just like watching YouTube, right? So in between like me like giving him his meal and medicine, like I would watch YouTube and I would watch like the Andrew Tate like motivational clips because how they have them.
Yeah.
So it's like all on my feed,
Mm-hmm.
and it's this other white dude. Man, I forgot his name. He hangs out with them too, but he has his motivational speeches on there as well. So I would just go through and watch him, and it's like. And I remember it was one that was like a 6-minute long, and he was just saying like, just fucking start. Like, what are you waiting for? Yeah. What are you waiting for the perfect time? Like, just fucking start. And I had already wrote in my notebook, like I was mapping out like the things that I had options of doing. And I narrowed it down to 3 things. And I was just like thinking in my head, like, if I start cutting hair, I could do it at home. I can make my own schedule, build my clientele, and I can work on the side and have money to help my dad, help my mom, help the people around me, and save money by cutting my own hair, cutting my nieces and my nephew's hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like, can be your actual career. You feel what I'm saying? And the average barber is making a lot of money, especially California.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, a barber that's lazy is probably gonna bring reel in 60 to 70,000. Lazy. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm like, bro, I know the type of mindset I have, and you've tried to put me on that for years. Mingo tried to put me on that for a year or two. Javi tried to put me on that years ago, and I'm just like what am I waiting for? If I would have started 2 years ago when I was cutting my nephews like first and started off, bro, I would have been making bread. You know what I mean? I would have been in a position to where it was like, I can help out. Who knows? I probably would have a house right by now. I probably would be doing all different types of things. So I'm like, you know what? Like just start. I'm gonna start now. I switched my profile to like a haircutting profile and started promoting myself. Put the pictures of my nephews up, and I was just like, I just dove into watching YouTube videos. 360 Jeezy, Get Beam, Chris Bazio, like, and not only do they teach cutting hair, but they teach like the business side of it, like. Managing your money, taking care of your family, taking care of the things that actually matter, all things that like kind of like motivated me, because I'm like, oh, like not only do I'm thinking of cutting hair, I'm thinking of the business aspect of like, okay, what do I do when I have this money, and like, okay, opening up a shop, okay, having products, doing X, Y, and Z. I'm thinking like, okay, like even if I do cut hair, like I know it's not gonna be forever, okay, I'll get to a point where I can just have a shop. But I know this is going to be a gateway to branch off into other things. It's just your mindset going into it. So right now I'm just in the process of learning like everything. I want to get to a point where like I'm real nice with the clippers and the wrist work. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like stuck in the grind right now and like building clientele and getting everything up and going. But it was just the fact of like just start. What are you waiting for? I prayed and I asked, God to show me. And like it was literally within a day or two, like I had already set up the shop I had showed you, set up the barbershop, and got my clippers. I said, "Fuck it, make the investment in myself," and it's paying off.
What do you think was stopping you like this whole time, like from you actually doing it though? Like, was there anything like specifically, or like your own self, or even the belief in yourself that you can actually maybe make this into something? Like, was there something like specifically, or was it like just the situational time and then you drilling in yourself, you just happened to stumble across a motivational video that just told you like it's either now or never type shit? Like, what do you believe like were some of the things that was making it just for some reason difficult to even start it?
I would say at the time, I think the thing that made it so difficult was my own internal dialect. So me telling myself like, damn, like this is gonna take a while for me to get good. This is gonna take, which it is. It's gonna take a while for me to get good. It's gonna take a while for me to get clientele. Like, who's gonna trust me to cut their hair? Like, am I really that good? And like building the confidence over the years of cutting my nephews, and then it was kind of like, 'cause I started cutting my own hair, and I'm like, oh, like I actually like how my hair looks. Oh shit, like, and then other people like telling me like, hey bro, like who cut your hair? I'm like, oh, I cut my hair. I'm like, oh, that actually looks kind of cold. Like do you actually cut? I'm like, no, I don't. And then I kind of like, it's kind of building your confidence. And then, you're cutting your hair, and random people they're telling you like, oh yeah, like, hey, your haircut looks nice. Like where do you go? I cut my own hair. Oh wow, like okay, cool. And then, I came here a couple times. You're like, oh, you went to Mingo or who? I'm like, no, I cut my own hair. You're like, oh, for real? I'm like, yeah. And it was just like practice, getting the reps in, you know what I mean, getting the shots up, so to speak. And I don't know, it just, you still getting better. And I'm watching the videos, like bro, hours of videos. Like I never like just dove into well, when I had the credit thing, that was the only time I would like dive into like the YouTube real deep. And bro, I'm telling you, I was waking up early. Like that's why I'm kind of in the mode of like waking up early now. I wake up and just immediately, as soon as I wake up, go to YouTube, turn on a tutorial, high taper tutorial, drop fade tutorial, mid fade tutorial, boosie fade tutorial, and just watch them. 15, 20 while I'm brushing my teeth, while I'm, eating. And I'd even turn it, because I have a TV, the Roku TV. So it goes to YouTube. So now I just sit on my little recliner and just watch the videos, take notes. And it's just like, it built that confidence over time. And then once I actually started cutting people, like, the positive reinforcement is coming back from, the real ones that came and like let me cut their hair. It was just like, damn, bro, like you put faith in me. Like, I don't know if I would have put faith in me to cut my hair. You know what I'm saying? Like starting off like a new barber, I wouldn't try out a new barber, but the fact that they came and tried me out, and then like, okay, the second time I'm cutting their hair, like, damn, okay. Like, no, I actually appreciate that. Woo. And I'm like, damn, this is a lot of like fast money. You know what I mean? I love the aspect of that. Like, damn, I can put in 100 hours and I'm going to get the money out of that versus working a regular job. I can do 1,000 things in that hour. I'm not getting paid extra for that. And that always bothered me. And making my own schedule. If I want to work from 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. at night, I can do that. You feel what I'm saying? If I want to cut hair all day, hey, 2 days, I want to cut hair all day, I can do that. And I like as much I put in for the social media and stuff like that, and cutting hair and investing time and energy into myself, like that's gonna come back full circle. So I think I love that aspect of it, and I'm just appreciating the grind of where I'm at, why I am right now.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why it's so important. Like, you have to, people always talk about like manifestation and stuff like that. You have to drill into your head like a bunch of like content, or you talk to people that are trying to do what you want to do, or even successful. Like, one of the things that like was the best thing for me is like always like just watching thousands of hours of just self-belief videos, because there was a lot of times where I just didn't have like the belief in myself to be able to do something, or I didn't have a skill of maybe a way of communicating. I was too shy, or I was scared to articulate myself, to speak up, whatever. Like, just watching like literally thousands of hours on like YouTube. I remember just always just sitting in my room. I still do that to this day. I'll just, instead of going out or whatever, go to the bar, I'll just be locked in, just watching videos on a certain specific niche of what I'm trying to do, or just an avenue of how to market, whatever, or even the ability to just understand like how does self-belief work. Like, a lot of us don't have the best examples. Like, a lot of people are trying their best in their own sense. And that's why it's so important. Like, you have to drill in your mind like the self-belief that you can really do anything that you want in life. Like, really when you sum it down, it's really just a choice. You just like, if I want to do this, I'm gonna go do it. And you have to remove like the instant gratification part. Like, hey, it's gonna take me 5 years, it's gonna take me a year, it might take me a month to learn this or get certified. Like, that really shouldn't be your focus. One of the things I hear a lot is, there was this great video, bro, I gotta show you. It talks about this homeless guy is talking about like, you're so in a rush. Like, you're so in a rush to get that house, get this car, get this money, get this job position, like this status. And you forget, like, once you get there, it was the journey. That was the reason that actually made it worthwhile. It's kind of like when if you have a 6-pack, like when you get the 6-pack, it's like great, you've gotten what you wanted, but you really value it more because of the journey it took. All those sit-ups, all those different variations of food, what you cut down. Is like the value is in the process, not in like the final product to a certain extent, right? Like, you need to like really develop that self-belief, because no one is gonna do something for you to get what you want. Like, you can, be working towards it and failing and succeeding, and somebody you might network with last second might give you that extra lift to then put you in position, like by opportunity or in God's path that he like unlocked for you because of the effort you were putting in. I feel like it's so important to have like that self-belief, like, hey, I'm gonna fuck up, I'm gonna make mistakes, I'm gonna get good, I'm gonna see the results, but there's gonna be some times where like, I might see some good results and then I might slip up here. Like, that's why it's so important. Like, you need to have like that perseverance to really do anything that's needed for you to like reach what you want to be at. Like for me, like kind of like what we're gearing towards to, like hopefully, using the podcast to help people and to maybe leverage ourselves to get out of this 9-to-5 mindset too. And then with you cutting hair, like that could be something right there too. It's like you need to take really control of your life, like, because there's people are not gonna help you. They'll help you to a certain extent, but like they're more focused on their life, and like you need to do everything you can to like put your family in the best situation, put yourself in the best situation, because you have to realize like it's all on you. Like, when you die, there's only one person you're gonna meet, and you're gonna be by yourself. Like, you're not gonna be able to bring excuses like with you. You're not gonna be able to bring people you could point the finger on when you look at God. Like, when you die, you're by yourself, and you can't bring anything in that coffin other than your own human body that's in there. So I like to think that it's all on me, and like I have the responsibility to like myself and God and my family to like do everything that I need to do, and hopefully little by little God shows me sooner than later, and then you just make the adjustments, because you just can't make excuses. Sometimes you gotta just literally say a decision, like, I'm tired, I don't feel like it, I don't know if this is what I need to do. Like, sometimes you gotta just say fuck it and just fucking try it out.
Pick something.
Pick something for real.
Because like at the end of the road, like your resume speaks for itself. You don't want to be that person that said, "Oh, I wish I would have did this," or make excuses of, "Oh, I had kids, that's why I didn't end up pursuing my music career, pursuing my barbering license, or doing the X, Y, and Z. I wish I would have did this." And it's just like, you even like now, if you hear someone like talk to you about how they should have played high school football or how they should have did the X, Y, and Z, it's just kind of like, bro, like you did or you didn't. You provided for your family or you didn't. Or this is why I left my kids, like yada yada yada. It's like, bro, at the end of the day, like your your choices is your resume. So if you're busting your ass and you're working to provide, regardless of what you pick, if you're a construction worker, if you're a plumber or whatever, you chose to provide for your family and you took care of your family and set them up to be successful, and they're there you branch off and you have a company, or you could send them off to college or help them start their own companies. Like, that's the stuff that's going to be important. That's the shit that's going to matter. What impact did you leave with your family? Did you show them the way? Like, if you don't come from money and then you bust your ass to get it, what type of blueprint are you leaving for your family members? You know what I mean? Like that's a positive reinforcement for them. You know, they're seeing like, damn, if my brother Juan can do it, if he can be a millionaire, why can't I?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't come from no money. I don't either. I can do it too. And that's the best thing that you can do is be a positive influence for somebody, because everyone has negative influences everywhere. It's so easy to be a negative influence, but the choices that you make as a man, like or as a man or a woman, but and majority as a man is like you gotta provide. You gotta set yourself up to see where how are you gonna provide for your kids? How are you gonna provide for your family? How are you gonna make things easier for your parents, and what type of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Yeah, you know what? It's like really a blessing for us to even be able to have like an idea of where we want to be and what we want to do. Because sadly, a lot of people right now in this world are like just lost, like they're just astray, and that's a hard place to be, because you can't see no value or no end in sight of anything. You're just taking things in front of you. You're kind of just moving with the wind where life pushes you. And for me, like, I've been there, and it's very depressing, very sad. You don't know what to do. You don't understand why you don't have no strength to do anything you really want to do. You can't go to the gym for some reason. You're making it harder than it really seems to be. And that's why, like, people really need to start eliminating stuff. It's not about what I need to learn a lot. It's like really more a lot of what I need to unlearn. There's a lot of things that the way you've been living life is the reason why you're stuck. And like, you need to switch it up. Like, you got to take a chance. You got to take a risk. You got to learn something new. You got to surround yourself with different people. You got to change the way you eat. You got to change the way you think in order for you to like create that change that you need. Because a lot of people are just so caught up with like the distractions of the world, alcohol, money, their career, their job. A lot of people are like, just imagine, bro, like, I'm in this world, like, tomorrow I work at 5 a.m., right? So I try to go sleep at 9, try to force myself to go to sleep. I probably don't fall asleep until like 10:30. I wake up, I have to, wake up at 3:30, get my clothes, whatever, change up, get myself ready, go to work, be all about work. I'm like programmed to just help this job. Then take an hour drive back home. I'm tired. I'm already looking for something just to eat, to just chill. Then you get caught up in just like eating. And then like you might drink a beer. I mean, I don't, but like you might drink a beer. You might go out to eat. You're just wasting money. You're just in a cycle of every day is almost the same thing. And like, John D. Rockefeller, the whole school system, like people don't realize it was created for, even John D. Rockefeller himself said, we don't want thinkers, we want workers. And that's the reason why a lot of like the school system is the way that it is. We're programmed for factory workers, or to go to college to then still become factory workers, just in a higher level office with the window and your own little cute desk. Like fuck that, bro. Like, I don't fucking want that life. Like, I always knew it. I knew I had to try to find my journey out of it, and so I'm in it right now. But I've always been trying to find a way. I've always been trying to educate myself, empower myself. And then, you would think like these people in these like high management positions are like almost gods. Like, they just, how do they get there? How do they, bro, you start to realize like I'll be surrounded by, VPs, like, GMs, and you realize like they might be making like $100,000 or even $250,000. But they're just like you. Like, a lot of it, like, I'll speak to them. They'll give me like a lot of compliments, like, wow, like for your age, like, or wow, the way you talk, wow, like, I would have thought you were another GM or something. And you start to realize like a lot of things are politics, like favoritism. A degree gets you to the door. Like, it really is just the way you carry yourself and like the knowledge that you have that could intrigue people to like want to network with you. And that's why I say networking is important. That's why, like, self-motivation is huge. And like, you have to wake up. Like, you have to take control of your life. Like, you don't want to be like these people that are like just like walking zombies, like, you have to make sure that you do all that you can to control, like, everything. I mean, as a man, like, your relationship is literally what you created to be. Like, we all want like the perfect woman as a man, but that's like unrealistic. Like, a lot of women have a certain like programming that they got from their mother, their father, if they had one or not, the school system, social media, the beauty industry. Like, what they learn to see that is of value, which is their appearance, and like just all these programming that they got. And then here you are as a man, like you have to really guide this woman to be the woman that you want her to be. And like you need to like make quick decisions, like is this woman worth, you know, really wanting to be with, and hopefully guiding her with some moral and principles that you understand that you want in a woman, and you being a man of God, and like all these things. Like you really need to have like, excuse me, like a try to get like a structured system. Like for me, I would say religion is one of the best things like to happen to me, because I mean Islam is a religion, but really for me Islam is like the way of life, like the way I've already been trying to live my life. And then since I learned this religion and the structures and like the Quran, like it has put me on the straight path. I might slip a little bit here and there, but I always just pick myself, adjust more, and then just come back, like because these are habits that I've learned throughout years that I like engineered. So now I have to re-engineer it little by little, and you have to be patient. Like, you know, the guy who I was talking about that was alcoholic, you know, for the last 2 years, he's Mormon, and you know, he was talking about how he's thinking about going getting help. All of his doctors are telling him that he needs to go to rehab, and he doesn't want to go to rehab. He's not sure if he needs to. He feels like, you know, he was a professional bodybuilder before too, and he was telling me, you know, like after his career ended with that, like he started with the drinking. And that's what happens with like a lot of athletes too. Like, you know, you're at such of a high of like optimal performance, you know, a game, a show you're getting ready for that used to like weekly or monthly, whatever you're preparing, to then not having none of that no more. Like the dopamine, the journey to get somewhere is now gone, and to the point where now you look at, you know, dopamine hits with, you know, alcohol or like other drugs. And like just talking to him made me realize like how important it is to like, you know, keep God in there. Like, cause I keep hearing all these things from people that are struggling, but one thing I don't hear is God. Like this is the biggest thing that I've learned to realize, like, you know, cause you could read all the self-help books, you could watch all the videos on YouTube that how I was just talking about. You can try your best every day. You can know what you think you should do, you know, but until you know better, you'll start to do better. So like you start to realize like once God's in that equation, and you know, I speak for like the logical thinkers, right? The ones that believe like God's not real, and so why would I believe a religion if I haven't seen God or a picture of God? Like look how your life is working out, and look at those who believe in God and truly believe in God and are skeptical and are trying. Like these are some of the most happiest people I know. Like the most happiest people I've met have always been believers of God. Not one person that didn't believe in God or atheists or they didn't have a religion. They have a lot of ups and downs. They're on antidepressants. They drink alcohol every day, every weekend. Like they're always catching like pleasures and cheap dopamine hits. And I realized, because I was one of them, and I was like, you know, that was very unfulfilling. I had no fulfillment in those years. Like I was just, thank God I was just surviving, like just finding something to do, whatever, or finding something to maybe see a sight in near. But not up until I found God is when I started finding the truth of like the world. And it narrows things down, because the world has so many options. You're so confused. You don't even know if you're a male or a female no more. Like if I'm a desk or if I'm this bobblehead, like I can identify as this. Like, did you see that video I posted on my IG? It was like how to get away with stuff in 2023. And it was like this guy and this girl that was recording on her camera. Like we're in an area where you can't record. And the woman, like security or maybe just a worker there, like she came up to the guy and the girl and was like, oh, you can't record here. And the guy was like, oh, no, she identifies as a camera. And then she was like, do you identify as a camera? And the person with the camera was like, yes. And then she was like, okay. Like, that's how fucking ridiculous we've gotten. I could just identify. Like, imagine if LeBron would just retire and identify as a woman and go to the WNBA. Imagine how that would be. Or Mike Tyson just identifies as a woman and goes into boxing. Like, that's the shit world that, like, parts of the U.S. and parts of the world are trying to make normal. And like, that's why it's so important for us to have a voice, because like we need to speak. God's missing here. Like if God was in the countries as in like the structure of how everything was surrounded to be before, we wouldn't have a lot of these issues. But now that like I feel like they're trying to remove God little by little, and then look how it's going.
Because if you think about it, if you remove God, that means that they don't have a leader. They don't have a path or an example to follow, and then you can mislead the world. That's the type of world that the devil wants, is a godless one. So he can do whatever he wants. He has his followers, directly and indirectly, and he knows he's gonna win. And you ever notice like the devil goes the hardest on people that he doesn't already have. He don't need to go hard on somebody that is already doing the things that he wants you to do. He's gonna go hard on the people that stand on morals, that are God fearing, that have faith. That's the one he's gonna double down on. But taking God out of everything, and basically making it seem like God or the Bible doesn't exist, or is made up, and putting our faith in so much other things like the internet, like in social media, like in the common things. It's just like people can be misled easily. People trust Netflix more than they trust like things like the Bible, things like God. So it's a very vulnerable state that the world's in right now.
What do you believe like are the forms of the devil? Like what forms do you think the devil comes in?
Man, that's a good question. I think he comes in every form of desire possible. He comes in the form of women. He comes in the form of money. He comes in the form of pride. He comes in the form of greed. He comes in all different types of forms, bro. And in any way, shape, or form that you struggle with, he's gonna attack that. If you have anger issues, he's gonna put people in front of you that irritate you, that agitate you. If you struggle with, infidelity, he's gonna put women in front of you or men in front of you that are gonna entice you to cheat on your partner. If you are a very rich person, he's gonna put pride.
American left-handed former pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Shout out Siri.
I know, shout out Siri. If you're, like I said, if you have money, he's gonna put pride in your heart, and make you feel like you have everything. What do you need God for? What are you gonna ask God for if you already have everything that you need? Where he's gonna make you so busy to the point to where you don't have time to read your Bible. You don't have time to pray to God. You're always tired. He wants to put as much strain on the earth as possible. So when our time is up, our time is up. And the things that we did are, our decisions.
Damn. It got me thinking. I was like, man, I need to start praying more. There are some times too. I'm like, because like for like Islam, is like there's like 5 prayers you do that are like mandatory, and they're all like, if you were to look at it in a like from a non-Muslim, is like, oh, those like the most like inconvenient times. Like they kind of disrupt with your sleep. But like that's why it's like so important. Like you start to learn like it's your own self that gets in the way. You're like, oh, I'm too tired, or nah, I don't want to pray, or nah, I don't want to do this, or like when it's time to make the right choice, you kind of find ways. Like it's like your own head is telling you like it's finding ways to like justify like, oh, it's good not to do this. It's okay. You don't have to do this because you gotta do this tomorrow. You know what? Hey, you did it yesterday. Why have to do it today? Like that's why I look at like as the devil, it's like those temptations of like not doing what you should be doing. Like that's usually like what holds people back. Is like everybody knows what they're supposed to do. It's like, what, eat better, work out, treat people with kindness, try to be the best person you could be. But then you have all these distractions. That's why for me it's like you have to start eliminating like people, things, even thoughts like out of your mind, to try to like reprogram yourself to like really focus on being a blessing to the world and not a lesson for other people. Because like, man, imagine like I like you hear like a lot of stories of people that have had people in their life that created like a very negative impact on them, whether they were abused, raped, molested, whether they were robbed, stolen some stuff from them. And like, I would hate to want to be that person to somebody, like, stuff that happened to me motivated me not to be like those people. Like, cause I realized like the stuff they did to me, and I look at myself like I'm very like strong-willed, like mentally, but I know from a lot of people that I've met, like if with what I've gone through, if somebody were to be in my shoes, I believe just by like knowing some of these people, like they would have no chance. Like they would fold completely. Like when you look at a homeless person, like that's literally you if you were to succumb to maybe like trauma events or like what happened to you, or the world got, you got overwhelmed with the world. You started resorting to like drugs and stuff. And like we're all like, like we're not that far away from being homeless if you just keep, seeking pleasure, or just you stop caring about things like who cares about my family, or there's no God, and like, it's always about how you feel. That didn't make me feel good. Drinking makes me feel good. Like even the guys, like there's a few alcoholics that I met that they'll even say like, they drink alcohol because it makes them feel better. Like, that says a lot. Like that says like, their life that they're living is not the life that they really want. And these are people that have like kids, a house, financial income, job stability, still not enough. So it's like, that's why it's so important. It's like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it and like why you do it. Because anybody could get money, anybody could do whatever, but like until you have like a deeper purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, then it'll be irrelevant. Because, if it doesn't have no purpose or no fulfillment, it's kind of like, it's very just numb. Like you don't even feel that what you're doing has any purpose, and that's how you fall astray. And then you could end up like, somebody who's homeless or somebody who's like an addict to things. Like, yeah, like that's why I kind of tell myself, or when I see people like homeless people, I'm just like, that could be you. Like, if you keep just falling back off track and not following like what God has, put in front of you. Like, there's a lot of things in this world that can bring you closer to God, but there's also a lot of stuff that can keep you away, constantly distracting you.
Yeah, facts. And what do you think something for you that you struggle with in your past? It could have been when you were a teen, preteen. What's something that you struggle with that kind of you had to get through around that time? Because I know for me personally, something I struggled with was like anger. I feel like I still have a temper, but I just control it a lot more. I'm more internal with it. And it would just be small things like my brother or my mom or like people at school. Like it would just be instant. Like it could be one thing and I'm frustrated, mad, and things that would ruin my days, But what's something that you struggled with early on?
I think for me it was like self-belief. Like, there's a lot of things that I felt like just wasn't going my way, or I felt that I wasn't ready for it, or, it is what it is type things. I would say like, it always started with like not speaking up when you should have, letting things happen, not saying something, quitting in something, or just, not having the will to keep going and just like, just go through the process. If you fail, you fail. Like I really didn't have a lot of belief in myself. Like, and I think it was because a lot of people around me failed a lot in everything. Like it was always people that like, they would say they would do this, they didn't do it. There's a lot of people who like would say they're this religion, but yet they're doing the complete opposite of what that religion would want. It's like a lot of people like around me were always like, honestly, like respectfully, like failures. Like all the people I was around was like a bunch of failures. So I was kind of like I don't know. It just started getting to me. I didn't see nobody successful. Like maybe I should have had a better understanding of like my mom, my dad's history, or my dad's successes to like make it to this country and stuff like that. And but I didn't really see nobody who was somebody who I wanted to be like. Like I didn't have no superhero. I didn't have no Batman to look up to. Like, you know, my dad was a working man all the time, and so like, you know, my dad was just like my dad. Like he was just working, like, you know, connected to he's my dad, whatever. But not really somebody who I really like admired back then to see like what I see now. But like, you know, I didn't have nobody teach me self-confidence or like, hey, you know, you could literally be anything you want to be. Like, you know, like there was one, I mean, especially too when I was younger, like, you know, the best thing that happened to me was like the best thing that happened to me was when I was like forced to go to special ed class. That was humbling, bro. That was so humbling. Because I just remember, like, I just didn't care about school. And, you know, I was a young kid. I was fighting, like, every day. I was always getting sent to the office. And then I just remember, like, one year. I had no idea what was going on. I just, like, another school year. I think I was, like, in first grade or something like that. Or third grade. I don't even know what grade it was. Third grade or something. And I just remember, like, oh, yeah, like, instead of my parents taking me to school, I remember, like, a yellow bus came. I just remember like, and I remember my mom like, they're picking you up. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, that's like the small bus, the small yellow bus. And my family used to like, when they found out that this was I wouldn't even want my cousins to come over, bro. I was like, nah, don't let them come over, because if they see me go to school, because, you know, sometimes like the Bay Area kids, they'll have like an earlier or longer vacation than like being in the Valley. And so my cousins, like all my family's from the Bay Area, so they'll spend the night. And so when I'll be going to school, they'll be at, you know, at my house hanging out, waiting for me. And I remember just how embarrassing it was. Like, I'll try to like wake up and like not let them see me go to school. But I remember they caught me going in the small yellow bus. Like, oh, you going? They used to call it the dummy yellow bus back then, like the hyphy days. They're like, oh, you going the little short bus? And I'm just being nice right there, because they used to say worse stuff. Like, oh, I used to go on the R word bus, retarded bus. And like, I that was, you know, the word to say back then, whatever. And bro, I remember just like, I was so pissed off. Cause I remember cause I was very aware ever since I was a young kid. Like, I was always socially conscious of everything. And then like, I was like, I remember just getting into that bus and just seeing everybody who's on that bus. I'm like, I don't belong here. Like, I started thinking to myself, am I stupid? Like, you know, I really started believing like, wait, am I dumb or something? Like, because, you know, they just put me in that school and there's no explanation. They just said that I wasn't passing, that I had a problem paying attention. Like, but do they not realize like I'm a fucking young kid that like, you know, violent, like play around, like I joked around. What kid wants to go to school, you know, like, yeah. Unless I've been domesticated from my family to just listen and like, but I wasn't. Like, my parents, one great thing my parents did was let me learn life, like in the streets or just be out there, like school, whatever. Like, they gave me my own personality, let me learn the hard way, everything, which is a great thing. But then it's kind of like I was a wild kid going to school, and then they put me in, you know, the special ed class. And I remember the first day just being there, I just, you know, I see people that are mentally challenged, like they have the hand gesture, like they can't, their eyes ain't right, like, you know, you could tell that Down syndrome. And I'm just like, what? Like, what am I doing? And I just remember telling mom, like, I gotta get out of here. They're like, well, you have to pass and do all this stuff. I remember every day telling the teacher, I gotta get out. Like, because I remember going to recess, I would hang out with the regular kids. Like, this being in special ed made me feel like I was different. Like, I was like a lower level, like, you know. And but then recess, whatever, all my friends were in the other regular classes, right? And so I'll be playing football recess with them, and they're all going back to the class, and I'm slowly going back to my, you know, they're going back to classes of like 30 students. I'm going back to class with like 8. And I was just like, you know, just going through that, it just taught me like that was one of the best examples though of like, you know, I could really do all that I want to do, especially if I'm desperate. I was like, 'cause I don't want to be in this class no more, because I remember how embarrassing it used to be. It used to be so embarrassing to me, to the point where, you know, every day cause I was in special ed for like a year or half a year. And I remember for every day that I was like leaving to go back home at the end of class, or I mean the end of the day, I remember like being in line with all the regular kids.
You good in the bus?
To get on the yeah.
No.
No, but I wouldn't get on the bus. Yeah, I would literally wait in line, joking with everybody, like, all right, yeah, like they're now, like everybody's going in the bus, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm just following, and as soon as they all get on the bus, I'll be the last one to just turn back and go back to my little yellow bus. And I remember the bus driver being like, why you always last? Like, why you always late? Are you embarrassed or something? He's like, well, you don't want to go you don't want to hang out with your friends here. The bus driver didn't even know me. He's like, these are your friends. Like, these are your family. I'm just looking at him like, these are not my friends. These are not my family. I just refuse. Like, nothing against those kids, but it was just everything against, like, I did not belong here. Like, and I was just pissed off. And I remember, like, you know, I was lazy and I was failing every single class before the 3rd grade. And, you know, every day that I was in that special ed class, I made sure that I passed, did all my homework, everything. Every day I would tell the teacher, like, get me out. I don't belong here. I belong in the other class. Like, my bad. I belong in the other class. I don't belong here. And I remember, like, I think throughout half the year, they realized, like, yeah, I shouldn't be in there. But it's because I was just like refused to accept, like, I'm not like them. Like, I'm not like dumb. I'm not mentally challenged. I'm sorry. Like, and I was like, just let me like get back to the regular people that I thought. And like that right there, that showed me like not only self-belief, but like desperation, and like you need to take control of like how you are, and you have to learn how to play the game. Like, in order for me to keep, like, even all the way to the point of me graduating high school, like, I didn't give a damn about school. I hated it. I hated going every day. Like, but I knew, like, to never go back to the special ed class and to not fail or flunk, I was like, I just gotta just try. And so, like, that, me literally going special ed changed everything to the point where, like, I'm never gonna fail again. I'm never gonna go back to that special ed class. Like, and I remember, like, and then you realize how easy school is. Like, all I gotta do is show up, listen, cheat on the test sometimes, or just like even like do very minimal studying. A lot of I started learning how to like psychologically understand how tests run, and like just, you know, the least common denominator, like, you know, eliminate answers. This is obviously the more logical one, or these two are the best closest ones, and then they may make my estimate from there. Like, all because of me going to special ed. Like, that literally just like sparked something in my mind. Like, you know, you gotta take control. Like, and I was like maybe 7 years old, like 9 years old or something like that at that age, like when I went to special ed. And that was like the best reminder to me is like, you know, if you're gonna be in the game, you gotta play the game, and like you have to like pass and do certain things in order for you to get like far, or just to get certain like privileges. And like, yeah, that was like the most traumatizing like time, like not the most traumatizing, but it was like the most like challenging, like eye-opening, like, oh wow, like if you don't really like put your mind to it, like they'll put you wherever they want, like, you know, like the school system, the status system, in the career or in the world. Like, what you put out is what you get in, and like what I didn't put out, I got in special ed. So I was like, I'm never gonna do this again.
That sounds like you were traumatized.
I was traumatized.
That sounds like you still struggling with
that. I used to never like to talk about this because I forgot about it too. But at the same time, I just remember, like, you know, waiting in the back of the line before going to that bus, or like my cousins and everybody. That's what I'm saying. They used to bully the shit out of me. That's why bullying is a good thing, because they made me get my shit together. They're like, oh, you on the little short bus? I was like, hell no. I was like, I'm making sure this never happens again.
That's the worst. I know you trying to get up quiet, put your clothes on to go outside. The bus is outside, man.
Oh.
Like, yeah. I know you were
That's
sick.
The worst, bro. When they would,
hey, look, Juan's going to school.
Yeah, and imagine being like the smartest guy in that classroom. That's not really like something to be proud of. I remember the teacher in that special ed class, like, wow, great job. I'm like, in my mind, I was like 7 years old. I'm like, well, duh. Like, I'm supposed to be doing this good. Like, but like, no knock to anybody who's mentally challenged, like, obviously, but I didn't belong there, you know? Like, that wasn't my thing. Yeah.
Bro, that's crazy, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie. I would have been going through it.
Well, it's so embarrassing.
My brothers would have fried me.
So embarrassing.
Like, man.
And I flunked too. Like, I flunked this. I flunked. Well, I flunked the first grade, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not because I think what happened was I was living in Oakland at that time, and the first grade, during the transition of like going towards like we were like half in the year of first grade, and I had broke a kid's arm in the first grade in Oakland, which is the reason why we moved out here. Yeah, so like in the first grade there was like this kid that was just making jokes about my mom, and I used to have like real like anger problems before too, to the point where I would just react. You know, when a boy that's a kid that cries, they cry off of anger. If you notice, like, and I would cry off of anger. I wouldn't cry because, even to this day, I don't cry because I'm sad. I usually cry because I'm angry of like where I'm at or a situation or maybe self-reflecting, whatever. Usually, most of the time, probably like 90% of the time, I used to cry because I was just pure angry. So like a kid was like making fun of my mom, whatever, and then we're in the first grade, and I just remember being upset, and I literally grabbed his arm and snapped it like against something. Like I remember we're like fighting or whatever, and I just like grabbed his arm, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I just hit it against like one of those like little jungle gyms, like the pole that you go down, not a strip pole. But like I remember just like throwing his just clearing it out, just making it clear. But bro, I remember grabbing his arm, like just so blurry memory, just grabbing it, doing that, and then just walking back to class. And then like I think like 3 days later, the kid comes into my, I still remember this vividly. Like I was like first grade, so whatever age that was, 27 now. So I just remember being in class, and there used to be I don't know if you remember, like when you used to take tests and like the tables were like this, everybody was close to each other. They used to put like cardboard boxes, like keep you in a box to like not look and peep, whatever. And I remember like an officer came in, the principal, and then the student came in, and like we had to like in the middle of a test, like they forced us to take the things down. I remember just looking at the kid. And I remember literally the principal asked, like, it's all quiet in that classroom. And the teacher asked, like, who broke your arm? And he's, like, looking. And then I was looking at him, and I was laughing. Like, I remember laughing, smiling. And he just literally pointed at me. And he's just like, that's him. And then I remember going to the office. Like, the principal, like, interrogated me for, like, 30 minutes. I kept on saying no, I didn't do it, even though I did it. And then, like, at the end, he asked me again. Like, I just said yes at the end. I think I just got scared or whatever. I didn't really know. And so I just snitched on myself. And then, like, I remember, bro, and my mom went there. They were trying to sue, like, our family because of what I did to the kid. And but thankfully, they were too broke, so they couldn't sue me. But at the same time, I think my mom and them were trying to get some money, and we were trying to move out because I think they seen, like, the path that I was going. Like, a lot of my family members were, like, deported, like, you know, gang members. And then, like, in that area, like, where we were living at in Oakland was, like, I used to like swim in like the sidewalks. Like there used to be a water flowing in the sidewalks. And bro, I used to swim in there as a kid, and then you'll find like syringes, I used to collect dime bags of like Coke, cause I thought the bags looked cool. Like, so like, you know, all that, yeah, fentanyl. And so like all that stuff, like, you know, we moved during the time of my first grade, and then also my grades weren't the best, so it's kind of like a combination of all these things. And then that's when we moved to like Lathrop for like a year, and then Manteca for where I was raised more of. And like, yeah, I literally flunked the first grade because of a combination of these things, and moved out here. Like, that's why people ask me, like, where you from? It's kind of hard to say. It's like, well, I'm born and I got a lot of my game from Oakland, but really I was raised in like Manteca. Like, you know, you gotta give love to Manteca. A lot of people don't, you know, give love to it because maybe it's not the Bay Area, but like, you know, Manteca also raised me to be the man who I am now. And also like my friends, my family, like are, you know, a lot of great times were in Manteca too. So it's like, yeah, man, those are some like I look back now, like those are some moments.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Super traumatizing, bro. I'd be going through it, bro. I'll be thinking about that shit all the time, because it's like certain stuff that happened in my childhood that I'll still think about. It's like, bro, that? Oh yeah, that would be like number one.
Would you ever had like something like that, like things that you learned the hard way, like when you were in elementary school, or like maybe a teacher, like, you know, like reality hits, you know, you had like, you know, like when you look back, right, to like, you know, elementary, were there some things that you learned and you took still to this day?
Yeah, I would probably say getting your work done, getting what things that need to be done, get them done. Because when I wasn't doing my work, like even the school, because if you just turn in your homework, you're getting a 70% in whatever course you're doing, right? If you fail every test and turn in all your homework and don't have any missed assignments, you'll get a 70%. So I wasn't turning in my homework and I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. So therefore, like, I got bad grades. And my dad told me, he's like, hey, you're if you don't get good grades, you're not gonna play football because you're not gonna have bad grades and then add in football and get better grades. It's not gonna happen. So he's like, you need to get better grades and we'll sign you up for football. So when he had told me, I'm like, okay, let me start taking it serious. So, I started studying for the little spelling test, the spelling test you have, like, and then like actually paying attention in school. Cause like the majority of the stuff that we would do and the tests we would have is all in class stuff. Like they didn't have a lot for us out of class. You know what I mean? So I started paying attention, started getting better grades. And I'm like, damn, like I'm actually trying to pay attention and not trying to be a asshole in class, and actually learning something, and then, when I got good grades that last, I think, quarter, my dad signed me up for the Chargers, the Manteca Chargers. And I was like, damn, like I really like grinded, and, my dad like was a man of his word and took me and signed me up for football, and turned out to be something lifelong, that helped me lifelong wise and taught me a lot, about character. So, I'm thankful for that and stuff, but it was just like, dang, that was like the hardest thing for me was like, cause recess, everybody loves recess. Everybody loves playing. Everybody loves going outside, but bro, you got to do what you got to do. You got to get the business aspect of everything done. Then you can play.
Yeah. Do you think how valuable you think it is for like to put your kids, or even the impact that it had on you, like playing sports, like what it did for you, that you see that like the people who didn't play sports, like the difference?
It's critical, bro, because in sports, it's like, this is what it is. You get with it or you don't. You know what I mean? It's not, like let's just say football. It's not all about you sometimes. Most of the time. It's about the team. Hey, do your job. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Do your 111, and you'll be successful. Work as a team and you'll be successful. Being honest and not pointing fingers. That's one thing that can translate into anything. But everything is going to be in a team aspect, like work, your career, your business. You're going to have business partners. You're going to have times, or even relationships, you're going to have times where, hey, you're wrong. You know what I mean? You messed up. Or, hey, like, you need to accomplish a goal. You need to grind and accomplish a goal. You need to do certain things. It's so much foundational stuff that comes with sports that transitions into someone's successful life or upbringing, because a lot of people don't learn a lot of things from their family. They learn from playing sports. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are spoiled in their families, and they play sports, and it's kind of like, oh shit, like everything isn't gonna go my way because I want it to be. I actually have to prepare and work towards that goal. And a lot of the times it's like, okay, the time I spent, working in the off season is what's going to bring me the success during the season. You know what I mean? And hey, like me building these connections with the people on my team helped our chemistry, helped me do X, Y, and Z. Doing the right thing regardless if someone is watching you or not. You know what I mean? Like that carries a lot of weight too. Like, hey, the coach tells you to do 10 push-ups. Are you looking to see if the coach is watching to do your 10, or are you just knocking them out? That carries a lot of weight. So the football and sports in general just teach you so much about like grind and like character.
Yeah, I think that, like the biggest thing that I took from like playing sports was like the accountability aspect, like being able to like, not only see like if you mess up, but then you get critiqued from like your coaches, and they tell you that, depending on the coaches that you have. I mean, I could imagine being coached now, like how sensitive they are, but like back then, like you almost had like, coaches fighting students, parents fighting coaches, like because how like straight up or maybe very not nice how coaches would be. It's kind of like you kind of need that, like, getting told the truth, like you're doing terrible, go run a lap, like you're messing around, go do, burpees over here on the other side. Like, I think like the best thing that I remember I got from sports was just like the accountability aspect of like, what you offer to the team and like what you do like outside or even like at practice. Like, you need to be focused, like, hey, you need to pay attention, it's bigger than you, like. And it's kind of like you got to do your part, focus on like what you can do to help the team. And then like all that stuff, I think like create like a great foundation of having no entitlement too. It's like you get what you put out, like, or your value. Like, if you're skilled and you have success and because of the effort you're putting in, like you get rewarded with like certain things. And like I feel like you see nowadays, like a lot of people are just like, have entitlement. They deserve this, they deserve that. And a lot of these people I realize like are the ones who never play sports. Like they just think it just get handed to you just because you're a human or something, or just because you think you deserve it or whatever. It's kind of like, no, you don't deserve nothing. Like you deserve exactly what you get in life.
I deserve that spot. I deserve that promotion. Well, you've been out every weekend spending money while he's been working overtime. Mm-hmm. Well, you haven't built any connections with people in your company, and you've sat at your desk and you get an attitude anytime something doesn't go your way. But this guy over here has been putting in work since day one. Mm-hmm. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and it might be someone on your team when you were little that might have just been better. They put more work in. Mm-hmm. They've put more years into the craft. They might be better than you. You feel me? And that's hard pills to swallow, but that's the harsh reality of things. You know what I mean? I know there's barbers out there that are better than me. Point blank period. But it's like me, I'm more focused on like me being better than what I was last week, the week before that, I know the path that I want to go. And that's the best trajectory for you going forward with anything, being the best version of yourself over and over with any craft. Just how like you with your self-development, with you working at your job, with you, coming into Islam. You know what I mean? Like, you're not comparing yourself to other people. You're just trying to be the best person that you can be in that religion. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. No, that's 100%. That's true because, you start to realize like a lot of things are very simple. Like when you like really just dumb it down, like, it should really just be, I always preach this now lately. I've been telling everybody, it's like you should have the 3 things every day. Like every day you should be working on your health, like physical, mental health. You should always work on your relationships, your spouse or your family, your relationship to God. And then also your purpose, your career, or ways that you want to make money or just impact the world. Like every day, like these three things is what you should be focusing on every day. Like, minimize the entertainment, minimize the video games, minimize going to the bar all the time and going to eat. Like sometimes, you need that stuff if you want it, whatever. I mean, you don't need it, but if you want it, you can. But it's like you got to try to find a balance. Like every time you should be always trying to work on something that you're doing too much, limit it. And sometimes you may be doing a little bit too much here, limit it. Like you should always just try to walk the straight path. Like, because man, you don't want to end up like these people that, complain, always like pointing out something, always trying to make something that's not even a problem into a problem. Like, you got to realize life is like super good, honestly. Like there's a lot of good stuff going on. And like the more knowledge you gain of like control of what you can't control, like the more empowering it is to really take care of you, your family, and how to like navigate, like once you simplify stuff like that, like life becomes like super easier.
Yeah, facts. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode, Wanavelli. Like always, thank you for your input, all the stuff that you were talking about. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching our podcast, they take so much value from the things that we say. Like this right here, our platform right here, bro, has impacted so many people. You've seen in the DMs, the comments. I've seen in the DM and the comments, bro. Like, it's such a good refresher for people to have. Like, I shouldn't be cutting a random person's hair and them talking about the podcast. You know what I mean? And saying like, dang, like how much thankful they are for even having a platform that talked about the things that they can't talk about, They don't, like, some people don't have people they can talk to about these type of things.
Yeah.
Some people just like their way of maybe talking about those things or seeing someone express those things help them, because it's like, dang, I can go to this podcast and see about this. I when I was younger, like, the only person I had to talk about these things was my dad. You feel what I'm saying? So I had a little bit of an outlet when he was off of work, but a lot of people don't have that, bro.
Yeah.
And that's why we hold so much value with this podcast and the way that we're going. But we just got to keep pushing and keep going, and this is gonna grow into something that we already talked about. When we first started this is gonna grow into $1 million business. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know where this is gonna go, and we know how many people we're gonna impact.
Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying? So we just got to keep going, and we love and appreciate all you guys for all the support you guys have provided for us. So we thank you guys, and we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time on Self Revelations.
Sheesh.